High Counselor Vorth AK stood before the Galactic Trade Assembly, his ancient voice carrying across the vast chamber with desperate urgency. I implore you, fellow beings, do not attempt contact with the Sol 3 system. Our classification stands firm. Class 15 Deathworld. Absolute quarantine. The assembly erupted in dismissive chittering and electronic scoffs. Representative Klexta of the Merchant Guild waved a dismissive appendage. Counselor, with respect, your warnings grow tiresome. The resources detected in that system could fuel our economy for millennia. Surely advanced beings like ourselves can handle one primitive world. You don't understand, Vorth AK pleaded, his crystalline exoskeleton flickering with stress patterns. Class 15 isn't just about environmental hazards. It means the planet actively creates apex predators. The dominant species there, they call themselves humans. They are the result of millions of years of planetary-scale natural selection. Captain Zenaro of the Expedition Corps slammed his armored fist on his podium. Primitive bipeds with crude technology. My fleet could pacify them in cycles. Vorth AK's warning fell on deaf ears. The vote passed overwhelmingly. First contact protocol authorized for Sol 3. 3 months later, Captain Zenaro's invincible fleet limped back to Council space with 70% casualties. Impossible, he gasped during his debriefing, his once proud armor scarred and dented. They had inferior weapons, older ships, smaller numbers. But they fought like the very concept of surrender had been deleted from their minds. The holographic recordings were disturbing. Human pilots ramming their craft into ships 10 times their size. Soldiers continuing to fight with mortal wounds that would incapacitate any civilized being. Civilians, non-combatants, taking up arms and fighting with improvised weapons when their military fell. They weaponized everything, Zenaro continued, his voice hollow. Cargo ships became bombs. Communication satellites became spy networks. They turned their own planet's weather systems against us. And when we destroyed their cities, he shuddered. They just built them back and kept fighting. But the Merchant Guild was persistent. One failed military expedition proves nothing, Klexta argued. We'll try diplomacy, trade agreements, economic integration. Ambassador Felnox led the next mission. Not warships, but trade vessels laden with advanced technology, offering partnership and prosperity. Surely no primitive species could resist such generous terms. The humans were polite, welcoming even. They signed treaties, established trade routes, and seemed genuinely grateful for the technological exchange. That's when things got truly terrifying. They reverse-engineered everything, Ambassador Felnox reported during his emergency evacuation. Not just copied, improved. Our quantum drives? They made them 30% more efficient within months. Our medical technology? They adapted it for warfare. Our communication systems? They turned them into surveillance networks that span half the galaxy now. But the worst part wasn't their technological adaptation, it was their cultural one. They started asking questions, Felnox continued, his diplomatic composure finally cracking. Innocent questions. Where we came from, how our governments worked, what other species existed. They weren't just learning about technology, they were learning about us. All of us. The final straw came when human exchange students began appearing throughout Council space. Bright, eager young beings who wanted to learn about galactic civilization. They were charming, hardworking, and impossibly quick to adapt to any environment. Within a standard year, humans held advisory positions in dozens of governments. They sat on trade boards, military committees, scientific panels. They didn't conquer, they infiltrated. Not with malice, but with an utterly terrifying competence and genuine desire to help that made them impossible to refuse or remove. Don't you see? High Counselor Vorth AK addressed the now panicking assembly. This is what Class 15 means. It doesn't just produce dangerous predators, it produces the ultimate survivors. Beings who can adapt to any environment, overcome any challenge, and turn any situation to their advantage. On the main screen, the latest reports showed human colonies spreading across dozens of previously uninhabitable worlds. Worlds that had been considered impossible to settle were now thriving under human management. They're not invading, Vorthe K said quietly. They're evolving, and they're taking the galaxy with them. Representative Klexta stared at the expansion data with growing horror. What do we do? What we should have done from the beginning, Vorthe K replied. We adapt. The irony wasn't lost on anyone present. The galaxy's greatest survivors had just taught everyone else how to survive.